Today we'll be going over the Services tab for DAST assets, specifically DAST Premium Edition or PE assets, or for assets that you're using a BLA add-on for. So this tab is all to do with your BLA. So firstly, you're going to want to add the credentials that we will be using specifically for the business logic assessment. We do ask that they be completely separate and different than the ones that you've provided for scanning, as when we're testing certain functionalities such as login feature or the forgot password, we might lock ourselves out. And if we are using the same credentials for the scan as we are for the BLA, it also means then we can't scan authenticated until those are reset. So we do recommend having completely separate sets of credentials. And you will add those here. So these have already been added. So you'll see the credential name, the type, is it the primary or the backup, as we always recommend, especially for the BLA, having a backup set. The usernames, the status, who last modified it, the date they were last modified, and you can delete them. So just so you're aware of the status, it'll say new if you've just added them, it'll get changed to good once we validate them, or bad if they're bad or go invalid. You can add as many credentials as you need to. Just keep in mind for the business logic assessment that we will test the highest privilege level fully that you provide. So if you want us to test, say, a lower user as the primary one, let us know that. Also, any other ones you use, we'll use for either horizontal or vertical privilege level tests only, and they won't be fully tested. So keep that in mind. If we don't require credentials for the BLA, you can go ahead and click Disable Credentials so we know that we don't require those. If you need to edit any of the credentials that you've already added, click the up arrow down on the left-hand side. You can view what you've already set, or you can hit Edit and adjust all of these as necessary. In the Scan tab recording, I'll go into more detail about these as well as in the onboarding. So if you need more details as to what each parameter should really be, go ahead and check those out. So to actually schedule your BLA, you'll just click Schedule BLA. And then a calendar appears. So if a week is in blue, it's open and you can schedule it. If it's grayed out, that means we're full for that week. So just pick either the earliest date that is next available, or if you're scheduling way in advance, pick the week that you want it. Be aware that you can only pick a week and it could be started anywhere Monday through Friday, realistically, but it doesn't mean it could be started Friday, which means it could be carried over into the next week. If you do need us to schedule a BLA sooner than the earliest possible date that we have here, please escalate that request to your CSM. If you need to add any attachments or notes, you can do so here. You might want to add things such as, like for certain forms, if it requires legitimate information that it won't let us make up, say legitimate employee ID, you're going to want to provide examples of those kinds of parameters in either an attachment form or in a note form, just so we know what to use when we're testing those forms so we can properly and fully test them. And then hit Schedule. Then you'll see here the BLA scheduled for X, Y, and Z date, although it is possible for the BLA to get put on hold before it starts if either the site requires credentials and you haven't provided them, or the credentials you have provided are now invalid, or if the site is inaccessible. And then at the end of the BLA, we will push the assessment findings to the Findings tab. And there will be a link to the report for just that BLA that will appear here as well. So just be aware that those findings, that report that you would link here, is only for that one specific BLA instance. So for example, if you renew next year and we have another BLA and we don't find anything else, then that report will show 0 findings, even if you haven't fixed ones from the previous year. So keep that in mind. Once we have completed the BLA, the date will also appear here. If you have any questions or any trouble scheduling the BLA, or again, especially if you need an escalation, make sure to reach out to your CSM. Make sure to reach out to our technical support team.